love how we start the interview with an Eminem song.
Me too, with my friend.
It's exactly what I expected from you in this nice ritzy real estate office. Eminem, wow. Listen, I'd rather regret the things I did than the things I never tried. Right? I think I came to New York City in 2006 when I graduated college because I took the LSAT to go to law school and I bombed it, and I couldn't get into a good enough law school, and I had some money saved up, and I told my parents, look, what do you want me to do? I got to figure something out. So I said, I'm going to go try this acting thing in New York City and see if it works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it works, great. Otherwise, at least I'll know that I tried. And that's been basically the rule of my life, like everything, just try as much as you possibly can because you just don't know, and do as much as you can because life is short. And I apply that to my real estate business and the television business, the education business, the books we do, the media, all that stuff.
Yes, so it's, and like basically, one of the lines I like to say is 70% of me is better than 110% of most people, and you seem like you take those percentages up a notch.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, the passion is definitely there.
Yeah.
So Danny Meyer, the great restaurateur, who in addition to his groundbreaking restaurants also created Shake Shack, once said, use your time well. Everyone gets time equally. It doesn't matter how much money you make. So 2 questions that flow off of that. On your scorecard of life, how do you measure success?
I feel successful if I've set goals for myself for this year that I actually then hit. It's not about being successful compared to that guy or that girl, or I'm as successful at 35 as the way I thought I was going to be. Like I can't predict the future 5, 10, 15 years down the line. And had you asked me now, am I successful compared to what I thought I would be when I was 18? I'd say no. Like, I'm not Tom Cruise. Didn't work out. I'm clearly a failure at life. But, I found different paths to quote unquote success. So, a day is an amount of time that I can really manage because I know what it feels like. A week, I can feel it, right? A month, a year, kind of. But like if you asked me, what does a year feel like? It's hard to really describe that. So I try to set consistent goals, and I try to succeed with those goals always. And that's how I know that I'm moving on a path towards success, because that's a big thing for me. Not just saying, oh, I'm successful because I made this amount of money, but I'm successful because I consistently achieve the goals that I set for myself.
So tell us why this dirty sounding little word, but it's actually quite insightful, called getting FKD, is important to you and those who look to you for sales guidance.
Getting FKD is finder, keeper, doer. And it was a system that I set up when I got into real estate because I had no mentor. Like, there's no sales books that told me what to do at 9 a.m. That was a problem. Like, if you don't have anyone telling you what to do, and you're a salesperson and you're brand new and you're sitting at a desk by yourself, which is exactly what I was doing on 49th and Madison. It's like, okay, well, what do I do right now? There's no leads. There's no nothing. It's like, all right, sit at a computer and post cold ads. Okay, for how long? For 2 hours, 4 hours? Should I just go meet people on the street? What do I tell them? Do I tell them I'm a real estate agent even though I have no listings? What's a co-op? Like, there was just no training whatsoever in terms of what to do, right? You can have tons of training about what to do once you have problems, and once you have deals, once you have listings, once you have clients, once you have a network. But especially at the beginning, figuring out, like, what do you do when you wake up and what do you do when you go to bed? And how do you do that consistently over time so you can build a sales career is really what I wrote the book about and what the vlog is about and everything. And finder, keeper, doer is how I structure my day. So it's at the beginning of my day, let's say 8 to 10 a.m. if I can. Now my days are totally different, but this was definitely when I started. Like 8 to 10 a.m. would just be my finder time. And it's really about focusing your mind to do what you want to do to be productive. And during that finder time, I was in the office and I would think about ways to grow my business, things I wanted to do, ways that I was going to do it. Who should I go after? Like, even as simple as, everyone on the Forbes list, I'm going to go after them. And then I'm going to talk to that real estate data company and I'm going to figure out how they get emails for people that are on the Upper East Side that are moving. And then I want to send a postcard to that building because I did a rental in there. Like, all that stuff I think about in the finder time. Sometime in the middle of my day, let's say after I had some appointments or so, it would be keeper. And the keeper time is when I would focus on money or the lack thereof, and any money that I would have to be able to spend on the postcards or on buying emails or, figuring out my e-blast system and all that stuff I would do during that keeper time, because it's important, right, to really, really focus until your brain is wired in such a way that you can be a CEO all day long and do everything at the same time. Most people can't do that. And so you have to have separation. And most entrepreneurs and most salespeople don't have enough money to hire people to tell them what to do and how to do it. So you got to do it on your own. And then the rest of the day was my doer time. So that's the D. And that was when I would actually go do everything. So I would go pass out the flyers. I would put postage on letters to be able to send out my mailers. I would go and actually network and go and actually show people. And when you first start off as a salesperson, you're spending the majority of your time as a doer. Right, because you're doing all the stuff. You're painting, you're mailing, you're emailing.
And chief bottle washer.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
a beautiful thing.
You do all the same thing. And then your goal is to become more and more and more of a finder. And that was an easy way for me, not having gone to business school or anything, and just knowing, okay, I've got to sell to make money to pay my rent. It was an easy way for me to structure my day for success.
It's like the 5 Ps. Proper planning prevents poor performance.
Yeah, of course. It's not like I had a bunch of widgets in my pocket or in a storage room or something. It's not like I worked at a shoe store and I had, all right, sell these shoes to the people who walk in. It's, when you're a real estate salesperson in New York and you're at the beginning and you don't have a mentor, you're not part of a team, you're absolutely by yourself. And it's sink or swim, figure it out.
Yeah, listen, the bottom line is it's work ethic. It's having the ability to string syllables together, which is, being likable. Those are a lot of those are underrated traits. The mantra of yours is follow up, follow back, follow through. So tell us why those in real estate and sales should follow your mantra. And if they do, will go a long way to being successful, having basically a flock of clients following them.
Yeah. So follow-up is 100% my secret sauce, right? Like my ability to follow up with you until you die is the entire way that I sell properties. I do not forget anybody. I do not forget anything. Like I follow up and my team has follow-up systems set up and we stay on top of people until they buy. Like case in point, not to talk too much about this, but sometimes I think it's helpful to kind of give by example. In 2009, I met a person in Starbucks, right, on 49th and Madison. I've been in the business for like 6 months, right, because I started in September. So yeah, beginning of 2009, 6 months. She was looking for an apartment, uptown, rentals, and I introduced myself because that's what I did. I had no shame. I had no money, so I had no shame. It's like, hey, my name is Ryan Serhant. I'm a real estate agent.
It's a great motivator.
I would love, you have to back yourself up against a wall, right, which is a whole separate conversation we could talk about. But and I would introduce myself to everybody because what's the worst that could happen? They'd say no or not talk back. It's like, okay, well, that's exactly where I started. What's the best thing that could happen? They'd say, sure.
What Yates said? Yates said, strangers aren't strangers. They're just friends who haven't yet met.
Yeah, of course.
So that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Networking.
Yeah. No one likes to be sold. Everyone loves to go shopping with friends. Right, that's an important one. So, so I met this girl, and I showed her some things for rent, and then she got her husband involved. They were from New Jersey, and then they wanted to see some things possibly for sale because if they're going to spend money on the rent, then they should look for sale. And their budget was like $1 million, and then it was kind of like $2 million, and then they were kind of looking at other things. And then, then they completely disappeared. And hold on one second. My wife, if she FaceTimes me, I have to pick it up. 1 second. Hi, baby.
Hold. Just wanted to say I love you.
Okay, we're doing a podcast. Zena, this is your first podcast.
Hi, Zena. Hi, Amelia.
Hi. Hi.
He's doing pretty well for first day at the rodeo.
Yeah. Baby, I'll see you a little bit later. Have fun with your ball. I love you.
Love you.
Bye. When Zena calls me, I have to pick up.
No, absolutely.
I don't ever want to be that dad. Anyway, so I showed them a bunch of things to sell, and then they totally vanished off the face of the earth. But I followed up with them every other week. I'd send them both, listings every other week. Fast forward to 2017. So that was 2009 to 2017. And he finally writes me back after following up with him every other week. Email is free, by the way. And I have a lot of people that I follow up with all the time. And he writes me back and says, hey, sorry, I've been a little bit busy. Got your emails. Let's talk. Got on the phone with him. And to make a long story short, he got divorced, has been really busy building his business in New York City. And he wants his own place now. And he knows a lot of other people and a lot of brokers, but I was super persistent and he wants to give me a shot. And so, he remembered me as this little rental broker. And then I kind of clued him in on what I had been doing. He was like, oh, good. Good thing you stayed in touch with me. Then next week I sold him an apartment on West Broadway in Soho for $16 million. That was 2017. And this past June, I sold him a house in the Hamptons for $40 million. And then I sold the ex-wife a house for $16 million because I followed up every other week. And so I tell people that story now. I mean, it literally just happened because everyone's like, yeah, I follow up all the time. I'm like, no, I don't think you do.
No, it's persistence. You get them to see reason if that doesn't work.
And
Hopefully they wave the white flag and they call you.
Follow up, follow through, follow back is very important because it's follow up with value, right? It's not just, a lot of people follow up and they're annoying. They harass. It's like they use the phone. Like who wants to talk on the phone anymore? You know, there's different ways to follow up and there's different ways to be in touch with people. I follow up with people now a lot, like through their kids, through social media. Like there's different ways to do it. Follow through is doing what you say you're going to do. So if I told him, hey, I'm going to send you listings, I do it until he says stop, or he says he bought something else, or until he dies. Like I will, and then even after that, there will be executors to the estate. They should also get those listings. I will find them, and then follow back is going back to everybody you've ever worked with. Just because a client is closed doesn't mean that they're not a client anymore. Touching back base with all the people. You know, happy birthdays to the kids. Touching base, how's the dog doing? Little things, and it's all free. And that's the crux of my business. Is following up with people and then following back with them and then doing what I say I'm going to do every single day. That is it.
So one of my favorite Warren Buffett quotes is that it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. If you think about that, you'll do things differently. So I've seen you talk a lot about why one's brand is their reputation.
Yeah.
So care to expand on Warren's thoughts and yours?
I mean, I agree with him. I actually think you can ruin your reputation and your entire brand in less than 5 minutes. I think it takes one news article and a headline that no one cares about, and they're just going to read it. And we've seen that happen a lot over the last 2 years. You know, the public opinion court is a brutal one. You are guilty until proven innocent out there. So every decision you make has to be about your brand, and the only way to control your brand is by controlling your reputation. And the only way to control your reputation is by controlling your actions. Right? Because I get questions, and the reason I talked about that, and there's a vlog about it, but I get questions all the time about, I want to build a brand. Like, Serhant, you have this big brand. You know, I want to build that. I want to build that. How do I do it? Like, do I need a logo? You know, like, is it the business cards? Is it like, how do I build this brand? Do I need a branding agency? And I'm like, dude, first of all, take a step back, breathe. Brand is just how people know you and what people know you by. So it's a mixture of getting exposure, right, in different ways that you possibly can. And in 2019, there's so many ways to build exposure, right? It's just crazy, and you can do it all from your phone. And it's by building a reputation that people will know you by that will then turn into the brand. And your reputation is the control you have over your own actions. I mean, you and I both know a lot of real estate brokers in the city and a lot of attorneys, and like a lot of their brands aren't good because we know that they don't get back to people. They lie to people. They're mean on the phone. Like that's like they might not even know it. But I'm like, man, your brand, and you might think your brand is this huge real estate broker, but your reputation is that you're kind of a dick, and that is definitely your brand. Like that's it, you know. And some people might like that, but most people won't. And eventually, it comes back to kick you.
I hear you, my friend. So, Ryan, given the state of the high-end residential market where prices have fallen for the 8th straight quarter, in what ways do you think the real estate community needs to subconsciously channel, or consciously for that matter, the song Strong Will Continue by hip-hop legend Nas and reggae artist Damian Marley?
You have the best questions. There is a quote from a jazz musician who, on his deathbed, when he was asked why, how did you do it? Through all the ups and downs through the years, through jazz being popular to jazz not being popular, to the alcoholism and drug addiction, to like your 4 wives, you know, to almost dying from 2 heart attacks and all that. And now at the end of it all, like, how did you do it? And he said, listen, music's my life. If you just take care of the music will take care of you. And I live by that for work. Right? Like work and sales. So kind of the same thing. You know, the market may be terrible now, but it won't always be terrible. And what's funny enough is that the market's going to get better and we won't even know it. We're not going to know it until it goes worse again. Like that's just what's going to happen. I remember doing deals in 2012, 13, and 14, which looking back at it now, man, that was a great time. But at the time, And it sucked. Those deals were tough. We were still in the recession, maybe sort of. We didn't really know. Like things weren't that great. We were still negotiating, but then there's lines for open houses. That's strange. I wonder what's going on. But it felt bad, and now looking back on it. So for me, it's listen, take care of the work, do the work day in, day out, focus on the structure, focus on the discipline, and the work is going to take care of you. You'll get through bad markets. You'll get through good markets.
I just turned 60. I'm generally the youngest person in any conversation. And I'm like, people go, you on the back nine? I'm like, dude, I'm like on the second hole.
Yeah.
You could barely keep up with me. And if you have that, you put that into your business, it
of course.
shows. Back in 1979, there was a song called Video Killed the Radio Star.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts as to whether the advent of virtual brokerage and technology will be killing off many brokers? And while you're at it, feel free to channel the Bruce Springsteen song, The Human Touch.
Until a house can sell itself to another house, there will always be a need for real estate agents to handle transactions between two human beings, right? The human touch. Every deal I get done right now is not a deal that would get done had the buyer just talked to the seller. I can tell you that. And it wouldn't get done if the buyer's apartment talked to the seller's apartment, right? If we're just leaving it up to the market and to, to the market and to, into the properties and everything, then like we would be in a much worse situation right now. Like the market's soft, sure. It's a buyer's market in New York, sure. But like, deals are still getting done all the time, in part because brokers are pushing them because they're incentivized. You remove incentive, and we have a big problem. I mean, look at, what was the company? Purple Bricks, right? Purple Bricks out of London, big company in London for property search, brokerage. They said, you know what? We're the best. We're the biggest. They put $70 million, $70 million into the United States market. They lasted 2 years, filed for bankruptcy, and left. Couldn't do it because Americans are incentivized, right? This country was started by people who had a get up and go attitude, literally. Like they fought to the death to have the freedom to be incentivized. And if you want to work hard and you want to get paid for it, you get to do it here. If you don't want to work hard and you want to sit on the couch and you can afford to do that, do it for the rest of your life. You can do that too. No one's going to stop you except maybe your mom. And maybe she won't even stop you either. So it's like, so for us, I'm incentivized to sell property, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. If regulation or virtual brokerages decide to remove the incentive, then honestly, what's it to me if my seller makes another $100,000? It's not going to make a difference to me because there won't be any incentive. And who is all this technology then actually hurting? They're hurting the actual clients and the people that they say they're actually helping. So when people really look into how all these systems are working, if you really look at it, they're hurting themselves, And a lot of the virtual brokerages too, and their cheap listing prices, their MO inside, and I've spoken to all these people and how they work. The MO from the main office is represent them on the buy side. So they're forcing dual agency because the only way they can make money is through actual commissions, which they get on the buy side. And then they try to hold listings in-house to sell to their own agents. And they make it part of their agreements that, we have to have a buyer who's represented by an agent so that they can force that their agents represent them. And then, of course, they got more negotiating room because they're just taking an admin fee on the list side. So it's actually a much worse system and much worse for the clients than having the two sides represented by two heavily incentivized, slightly crazy real estate agents who are going to fight tooth and nail to get you the best deal possible.
It's like life. It's about finding the balance.
Yeah,
is what it comes down to. And what props out to Toronto Raptors superfan Drake.
Yeah.
How do you make sure that the building or apartment that you've come upon having an exclusive on will light up so that one of the many prospective buyers who come to a show will ultimately own it, as opposed to your client telling you when your place lingers on the market that, hey, you went about your job by doing it wrong?
Yeah, what a question. There is so much inventory on the market right now. It's really hard. It's really hard to separate yourself, but we try to do it all day, every day. There's a lot of noise out there. So it's like, how can I put noise canceling headphones on our buyers so they only focus on our product? Now in New York, it's unique, right? But if you're on a park or you're on the water, you don't have as much of an issue. It's prime property, right? If you have a huge, amazing view, still prime property, even now. But there's a lot of other property out there that's not, kind of the run-of-the-mill stuff. Good cookie-cutter apartments, 3 bedrooms. We're doing a deal right now on 54th Street where, our seller a couple years ago paid 3.4 for it. We struck a deal this morning to sell it for 2.5. We are doing a deal in Time Warner Center. They paid $38 million, and we're going to do a deal for $16 million. And but the market comes and goes. You don't have to sell. But we try to bring excitement to every project and every property that we sell to bolster price points, but to also drive traffic, right? Like we took over sales on a project on 29th Street, 550 West 29th Street. That's what it's called. Beautiful building, simple, easy, but in a tougher location and kind of like in a no man's land because 23rd Street to 30th Street is like Chelsea to Hudson Yards. We don't really know what's going on. And no, when I took over, 0 apartments had been sold.
I think you made up a name, didn't you?
Yes. So the problem, I always try to look at the problems and try to figure out what the solutions are, right? Like that's the kind of job from any salesperson. I never am just presenting problems and then leaving them out in the ether. I figure out the problems, I figure out the solutions, and then I present the problem in a solution sandwich. So the problem with that building is that it's on 29th and 11th, and no one knows what 29th and 11th is. People are like, well, that's sort of Hudson Yard. No, it's not really Hudson Yard. Is that where that car dealership place is? Maybe like that's, you ask anybody, that's what they say. And so we came up with a way to brand the location by calling it south of Hudson Yards. Same way like Soho is south of Houston. So south of Hudson Yards, SOHY, so high. And we made a bunch of decals, like hundreds of them, super expensive. We put them all over the sidewalks in Chelsea and Hudson Yards.
That's a great name.
East Chelsea.
I love that.
And put it everywhere. And we called the building So High. And when people asked what that was, we said it's south of Hudson Yards. It's the new neighborhood here. You're buying into one of the first luxury new developments in a new neighborhood. Wouldn't it have been cool to buy into one of the first luxury new developments in Chelsea or Flatiron? Like, don't you want to be that person who then talks about, I bought back into this building in 1990. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly the word we use. Like, you're a pioneer of this new neighborhood that is literally being developed around you, and that's what you buy into. Also, our prices are half, if not 25% of what they are 1 block north in Hudson Yards, so on and so forth. So then you sell the value, but we get them there because they're excited about coming into a new neighborhood that they never really thought about before. And that was a way to kind of drive energy and excitement to a project that otherwise had been sitting stale in the market with other people for 2 years.
Is there anything you've experienced in business, if given the opportunity, that you would rewind?
Yeah, probably everything I've been fired on, like listings I've been fired on. I would probably go back closer to the beginning of my career. And I would have rewound on a few deals where I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was doing my job, and I was, to be honest, but I wasn't articulating it. And in this business, if a seller or a buyer aren't told very bluntly what you're doing for them every day, they're going to assume that you don't love them and you're not working for them. And I would rewind a couple of those deals and tell myself communication is key. Working with buyers, sellers, as developers is the same thing as working with your wife. You might have worked your butt off all day long for the family, but if you don't say hi and kiss your wife in the morning, and when you come home at night, you just go straight into the shower and take your shoes off and go to bed, and you don't acknowledge her, she's not going to care that you worked all day long, right? She's not going to care about your mood.
Yeah, everyone needs a hug.
Everyone needs to be told that they loved. Everyone needs a pat on the back. Everyone needs to know that you're there for them and what you did for them, right? That's the way the world moves forward. So it's every client, every developer, every seller, every buyer. We are constantly working for them because this is a business where you're paid based on communication skills. So my ability to communicate with you so that you know that I'm working hard for you is going to keep you engaged with me through a really, really tough market, and you're going to stick with me. And it took me a long, long time to learn that because I just sort of assumed I'm doing everything. I'm calling everyone. I have to tell them I guess I do have to tell them every time. I guess I have to update them.
Communication. So Quentin Tarantino, the director of such great films as Pulp Fiction, once said, I want to top expectations. I want to blow you away. So what do you think is the best way for you to try and exceed the expectations of your customer base?
I don't create the product, right? So my customer base, if it's the buyers I'm working with, it's, I want to show them the newest and the best product earlier than anybody else, right? If it's the sellers I'm working with as my customer base, then I'm trying to, and we work on this all the time, to come up with different ways that I can present their properties. Because everybody mass markets, but all my focus goes into how I target market. Like, how am I going to target market this project? How am I going to target market that listing? How am I going to go after these people? And that's how I can kind of blow away future sellers. And then with developers, it's your ability to sell, but it's also your ability to think outside the box and help them get creative to help, like we talked about in a, with SoHi, how do I help their projects stick out with all the noise that's everywhere? And there's 1,000 different ways that we can do that.
So in the song Touch of Grey by the Grateful Dead, there's a lyric that goes, I see you've got your list out, say your piece and get it out. So as a means of being productive to your fellow real estate brethren, are there any items on your list of sales, leasing, development, or construction pet peeves that you would like to say your piece and get out?
Piece of advice to
Yes.
real estate agents?
Yes, being productive though.
Yeah, I would say pick up the phone, answer your emails. I'm a big believer in inbox zero. So like I know you're tired. I know you're busy, but you need to answer your email every night. Scroll through. I know you want to go golfing and you might want to go to the beach, but you should take a couple hours every weekend. You don't have to do what I do. You don't have to work 7 days a week, okay? And I never want to put like my schedule on top of other people because I wouldn't want anyone to do that to me. But you should take a couple hours every weekend. You should clean out your email from the previous week, okay? Sort things into folders if you need to, however you want to be organized. And you should set yourself up for the week ahead. It'll make you way, way more productive. Otherwise, 5 years are going to go by and you will have just been really busy. And you're going to look back and you're going to have some deals, some lost deals. Oh man, he bought with someone else. I should have followed up with him. And all that is going to be combined into frustration. And then you're going to second guess your career and so on and so forth. Like my biggest productivity hack is work on getting to inbox zero. Spend time at night before you go to bed cleaning your inbox. If you absolutely can't, you can invest in someone. I have an email assistant. His name is Jasper. He is young, and all night long, well, not all night long, but for a long time, I think like 6 years now, at night between like midnight and 2 a.m., because he's an insomniac, he logs into my email and he cleans it for me. And he sorts emails into different folders. I have more folders in my inbox than anyone at Microsoft or Apple has ever seen. And I have that in an email from both Microsoft and Apple because I had massive sync issues to my stupid phone and it was driving me absolutely crazy. And they were like, we've never seen anything like this before. I'm very organized when it comes to email because my life is in email, right? I'm not like an internal salesperson where we can all be on Asana or Slack. I set up my team like the Patriots. My real estate sales team is set up very much where, there's a head coach, quarterback, right? I quarterback all the deals as much as I possibly can. But every other person on the team is integral to getting deals done. And they can all be rock stars in their own right and make as much money as possible. There are no junior agents, sales associates. Everyone is in for the game. Right? If you watch the last Patriots games, like amazing touchdown catch caught by a guy who was just pulled in like 2 days prior. It's just crazy. Like it
is unbelievable.
Like they took.
It's so painful being a Jets fan.
I know.
With him.
I get it, but it's like Chris Hogan before they traded him because they just don't care, right? The Patriots also are like it's everything for the team or not. You either fit for our team today or you don't. It's no hard feelings. Like this is the team first. Chris Hogan was a lacrosse player.
Penn State, right?
Yeah, insane.
Crazy.
Like they took an Olympic lacrosse player and were like, you should be a wide receiver and we're going to teach you how to do it. Julian Edelman was a quarterback, right? And now he's the most insane wide receiver. Anyway, like it's crazy to watch what he does. And do your job is such an important line. It's like you have a job, do it, right? That's like my follow-up, follow-through, follow-back thing. Like you do what you do well and then just actually go out and do it. And if everyone on my team does their job really well, the team will succeed for the better of the team and for the individual players, right?
I want to play a word association game with you. Try to limit your answers 10, 15 words.
So I'm telling you, you're going to say
I'm going to say it. You're going to what comes to your mind and how it
what I
applies
think
to,
about
yeah, to business or life and why it hypes you.
the song.
Yes.
Okay.
So Waves by Kanye West and its lyrics, waves don't die and turn it up.
That makes me think of just the market, right? The market doesn't die. It comes and goes just like waves. Some waves are big, some waves are small. Some you can surf, some will totally crush you and suck you into the undercurrent. But you just have to turn it up, right? When you think the wave is going to be bigger, you speed into the curve. That's what NASCAR racers do, and we have to do the same thing.
Next word, song by Dre called Nonstop.
It's a good song. I run to that song. When I think about that song, I think about, I think about time management. I think about how the business just never stops, right? We are always on. We're always on the go, and that's the business that we chose for ourselves. And even when I sleep, I'm recalibrating. But other than that, I'm on. I'm thinking about deals. I'm thinking about the business. I'm thinking about the team. I'm thinking about growth, and it just doesn't ever stop.
4 a.m. by 2 Chainz and Travis Scott and its lyrics, my life changed when I had my first daughter.
True. My first daughter just FaceTimed us not too long ago. Life definitely changed with her. Like there's a reason to fight. There's a reason to work. There's a reason to wake up. And more than anything for me, one of the questions you asked me earlier was about brand and reputation, right? Like I used to really focus on my brand and my reputation for me, for the business. And if something happened to it, it'd be bad for me. I would focus on it because I wanted my wife to be married to a good husband. But now I look at her and I'm like, man, I got to work my ass off to make sure that she grows up proud, right? I want her to be proud. I want her to know that her dad's brand is great and his reputation is great, and that's who her dad is. And so that affects a lot of my decisions now. Things that I would have done years ago, I might not do now because I want, because of her.
So because you said Purple Bricks before, somehow I thought about Barney.
Okay, correct.
And Barney has a song called Down by the Station.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've had to subject yourself to that.
Not yet, man. She's 9 months old.
Okay.
But she watches football.
But in that song is a word, puffer.
Yeah. Oh, really?
What does puffer mean to you?
Oh, man. So I call my wife Puffer Munkin. Actually bought my first apartment in just randomly in Puffer Munkin LLC because I was getting a loan, and I thought it would be hilarious just to have everybody keep asking for Puffer Munkin LLC docs and having to sign for Puffer Munkin LLC. It was great. It was one of the best closings I've ever been to. I was really drunk one night, and so was she. I came home, and I'm 6'3", 200 pounds. She's 5'6", 100 pounds. She's tiny, and I think we were like, I just kept calling her like my little like munchkin puff, like my puff munchkin, my little, that sort of thing. And it's sort of, I don't know, in my drunken state, munchkin puff sounded weird, but Puffer Munkin sounded correct. And then as we sobered up, I was like, it just sort of stuck, and that's where Puffer came from. I don't know.
Great.
It just sort of became our thing. And now we have a mini puff. I come home to like a tiny mini puff terrorist. This little girl is she's crazy baby.
It's all good. So we're going to close it up, my friend, with a song by the Talking Heads, rock and roll legends, who have a classic song titled Once in a Lifetime. So if there was only one great thing that you can do in your lifetime, what would it be and why?
The one thing I want to do in my life for sure, which will mean a lot because it will have meant that I made it to a point to be able to do that, is to hold my first grandchild, right? Like that'll mean to me that like Zena's life turned out okay, right? It was good enough. Nothing bad happened to me. I'm still alive. Like everything, this business didn't kill me. I'll be super gray by then instead of just mostly gray. But to hold my first grandchild it will be a really, really cool thing. It's a very selfish answer, but I'm sticking by it.
Love it. Thanks for stopping by today.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.